Hi friends, it's Grace and welcome back to another video. Today is the February? What month is it? Today is the March edition of Reading Booktubers' Favorite Books, where I was lucky enough to have Petrik from the channel Petrik Leo choose my book for the month for this series. And so the book that he selected for me was The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. And this is a book that has been on my TBR for quite a while. I owned it on Kindle, but as I've said in multiple videos in the past, I have a weakness where I tend to forget about my Kindle TBR, and there was also nothing really pushing me to read this book. And so we are going to hear from Petrik about why he recommended it, and I'm really glad that he was the one that did give me the push to read this.
Hi Grace, thank you so much for the invitation to your channel, and thank you so much for giving my recommendation a read. So I recommended The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington to you, the first book in the Lycaonius trilogy. And I just want to say first that I'm truly happy that you end up enjoying it. So I mentioned plenty of times that the Lycaonius trilogy is one of my favorite trilogies. And although this series is comparatively widely loved outside of the booktube community, but in the booktube community, not too many people love the Lycaonius trilogy. I can actually count with my fingers the number of booktubers, myself included, that really love the Lycaonius trilogy. And that is kinda odd to me because, as I said, outside of booktube, many people love the Lycaonius trilogy. I think the plotting of the entire trilogy, the entire Lycaonius trilogy, is just magnificent, and also Caden is one of my top favorite characters of all time. I love the world building, and I still find it incredibly impressive, the number of complexities and intricacies that were put into this trilogy, and somehow James Islington still managed to end this trilogy very satisfyingly. So that's really why I recommended The Shadow of What Was Lost to you, and I hope more people in the booktube community will love the Lycaonius trilogy. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you will love An Echo of Things to Come and the final book in the trilogy, which I think is the best of the trilogy, The Light of All That Falls.
So I want to say thank you so much to Petrik for participating in this series for me and sending me a clip and for recommending me this book. And what Petrik had to say about the Lycaonius trilogy and The Shadow of What Was Lost is part of why I think I haven't picked it up yet. The thing that I really took away from what Petrik has said is it's surprising how not popular this series is on booktube, and after reading the first installment in this series, I genuinely can't really think why. So I gave this 4.25 stars. I really had a good time with it, and before I go into a little bit more of my final thoughts, we are going to get into the vlog portion of the video. So this was my experience during the reading process. Hello, it is time to start the March Reading Booktubers' Favorite Books pick, which is The Shadow of What Was Lost. This is going to be in the middle of a video, so you're already going to know what I was talking about, but Shadow of What Was Lost, picked for me by Petrik, and it is a big boy, but it also appears to have decently big font, so not as big of a book as it could be for the physical size of a book. I'm gonna start it today. I may or may not take it to work tonight. We'll see how much I actually get done, but once I'm a decent way into it, I will give an update and hopefully I like it. Okay, so I'm about 50 pages into the book. The good news is that those were super easy 50 pages to read, so even though this is a bit of a long one, obviously I'm still early on the journey, but I do feel like it's going to be a pretty, not dense, not hard to get through, which is a nice surprise because I've been reading, it's not that I expected it to be, but I've been reading a lot of really long books recently, so it's just nice to know that I'm not gonna have any trouble. And I can definitely see early on some of the parallels that can be drawn to Wheel of Time, since that is a popular comparison with this series. And if you like Wheel of Time, you'll like this series type of thing. So I can see where that comes from, and maybe it will grow into more, but there are just those little parallels. But of course, this is a trilogy, which is a bonus because I'm not quite ready to read another 14 books. And you know, I've really enjoyed the beginning. I think that it's nice to have like the trope where there's a school setting, but then we break away from that school setting. There's something that draws a character out from what their life was to this point, and they have to strike out on their own. I like that kind of story structure. I've always really liked a travel story, like a quest type trope. So I've enjoyed the first 50 pages, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's gonna go. I'm about 100 pages into The Shadow of What Was Lost now. Rascal's making an appearance behind me. What a cutie. So I am really like pleasantly surprised by how easy and fast this is to read. Like, I think that because personally I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed by the large books that I've chosen for myself right now, which is completely a me problem, but looking at this book and knowing that it's pretty big, I'm just finding myself like having so much fun right now with how like well I'm moving through it and how well the book flows. And things are definitely getting interesting. Like, this book is moving along like plot-wise as well as like writing-wise and style-wise. And so I'm having a good time. I'm very happy. Like, it's going really solid so far. I'm interested in all of the characters. I wouldn't say that I'm feeling completely invested yet, although I do really like Ashalia, and I'm still like, I don't know, I am very interested in where the plot is going, so I just hope that I continue to get those smaller character moments that help me build up my connection to the kind of like three main characters, or I guess it's kind of like two main characters, our POV characters. Ilseth or Isleth, I can't remember. Very sketchy. Not sure what's going on there. There's some lying going on by someone somewhere. Things aren't adding up. So yeah, like I said, very interested in where the plot is going, and given that I'm still so like relatively early on in the book and things are already getting interesting, who knows what's gonna happen. Given how fast this is, I feel like I'll probably give an update in another 100 or so pages rather than every 50, but we'll see how I feel. Like, if something happens and I want to talk about it, then I will hop on. Okay, I keep reading this in bed right before I go to sleep, so it's been, I think, about 130 pages since my last update, just because, you know, when I'm ready to go to bed, I'm not filming, so however, it is going really well. I'm very happy with how this is going, just because like whenever I hear mixed things about a book, even though I think I'll like it, I get a little scared. However, it's just really like my biggest thing, my overriding thing is that it's just so easy to read. Like, I am breezing through it. I'm having a good time. I find the characters engaging. We've had our reveal about one of our characters' kind of like identities, and we kind of get some like other reveals about aspects of our other characters' identities, and we are definitely kind of having a quest style of story, which I always love, and it's sort of a like ragtag band of people who have to achieve a goal, and they are trying to like, this isn't exactly like a con or a heist that they're trying to pull off, but they are trying to like outsmart people, which is like a storyline that I always enjoy. And yeah, I don't know, I'm really liking the way that this is kind of coming together. I still don't understand who a few of the factions are. There is one term in here, the Signari, that I'm not 100% certain. I'm not sure if I missed an explanation of who they are. I probably did. I probably just don't remember what was mentioned about it, but I'm very intrigued by things that are very clearly going on behind the scenes, and this like mysterious enemy in the north beyond the boundary that is stirring, and if that is a separate enemy or if that has to do with anything that they've encountered so far. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the plot continues and things start coming together. Like, I think the magic is very cool, and I like the discussion of the tenets and like what's good about them, what can be changed, like etc. So yeah, I'm really enjoying all of those discussions. Okay, so I haven't quite read another 100 pages, but I think I've read about 80, and I just wanted to mention that I'm really interested and intrigued by the concepts of time that are being played with here. I really enjoy the kind of whole idea of the visions and the fact that like things may be inevitable when you see them, but you don't know the whole concept or like the whole context and situation. Like you just know that one particular thing, so you still have to act in a way that like is strategic overall because you don't necessarily know what could happen. And I like that we're playing this with this concept that like people might be able to be pulled out of time or be pulled to different places in time. And I like that even though it's not being explained, like there are hints being dropped about what's going on here. And so it's really kind of, it's not overwhelming or disorienting completely, but we still have that mystery because we don't really know what's going on yet. And so I just think that it's been really cool, and things are definitely getting very interesting. So I just wanted to make sure that I noted that before I forgot about it when I read more. Okay, so I made it to page 400. I'm really pleased with how much of the book I've been able to get through today, and things are still very exciting. I'm very, very interested in like what's gonna happen to Davian since he's been, you know, like separated from the group. But I'm really, really enjoying like Caden's character and Weir. I don't know if it's Wur or Weir. I guess I could call him Torin if I so desired. But like I don't know. I really like Ash's storyline too. I'm pleasantly surprised how like I'm engaged in every part of the book. Yeah, Maisie and Rascal are just hanging out there. And so it's due back at the library in I think like 3 to 4 days, which is why I'm kind of trying to really get a move on. But like it's like I've been saying this whole time, very easy to read. And so I love that. This has been a great section. So I'm finding this like invading army very terrifying. Like, why are they the blind? Like, why don't they have eyes? And I want to know how all of this is connected, and yeah, still having a good time. Okay, I apologize for looking a little scruffy. I did just get home from work. However, I finished The Shadow of What Was Lost last night, but I didn't have time, or I didn't like, filming a clip would have involved like coming all the way downstairs, and I just wasn't doing that. And then this morning, didn't have time. But you know, it was only last night, it's still fresh. I'm really happy to say that I quite enjoyed it. So my final rating is 4 stars on Goodreads, but 4.25 stars on Storygraph. I'm not sure if I have anything too in-depth to say about this that doesn't involve like spoilers, but I think that it just comes down to the fact that I really enjoyed the plot and the characters and like the pacing and how it all came together. Like all of the characters were likable. They were all pretty interesting, and they all had like very much their own things going on. Like the bulk of this is kind of like a travel / quest plotline, but it doesn't get stale. Like James Islington did a good job of like throwing things in to keep it fresh, and also like different POV chapters where we get to explore different characters' motivations and maybe like different characters' powers, because we do have like different types of magic users in this world, and a couple of kind of like magic systems, and you do get a little bit of the like teaching and learning aspect so that you get to learn about it in an organic way. And so like in that sense, I thought that the world building was well done, and like we got some history of the world and like politics that was kind of just like really dropped in organically throughout and not like dumped on you at any point. And so like I think that he did a really good job of like building his characters and selecting like who they were and what their situation was in life in order to like, they were just well placed to like be of service to the story while also like driving the story with their own actions. And One thing that I liked about this is that although it's compared to Wheel of Time a little bit, and I can see where people draw those similarities from without a doubt, this flows so well. It was so quick to read, and the characters also get along with each other. Like, not always, because of course you're going to have characters who are at odds with each other, but just people who are friends actually get along with each other. But yeah, after hearing such mixed things about this, I'm just really happy to be able to say how much I enjoyed it, and I'm sure that Petrik is happy too that I enjoyed it, but I'm just surprised that this has such mixed reviews. Like, this is a controversial thing to say, but this is what I feel like The Faithful and the Fallen should have been for me. Just because like I thought so much that I was gonna love that series, and then it just ended up being average, that this I went in actually with like lowered expectations, and I feel like there are some similarities in the kind of like archetypes of characters that each author is writing about, and some of the like maybe like tropes and general setup. So this just worked for me, I guess, more, and I can't really explain it, but it just like I said, a huge factor was how well it flowed and how easy it was to read, because I was having so much fun with it, and I always like felt like I was really making progress, not only in page count, but like in the characters and in the story, and that was just really, really fun for me. So yeah, 4.25 stars, and let's get back to the other part of the video. So as you can see from my clips, rather than reading this from my Kindle, I did go grab a physical copy from my local library. They actually have a great fantasy selection. I haven't had a chance to like talk to somebody that works there, but I really want to tell them to give a nod to whoever curates their fantasy section, because it truly is a very impressive selection. And so I knew that they had this book, and I knew that I would enjoy my experience more physically reading it, so I went and picked that up. But I think that the overriding conclusion for this for me is that I think this has a lot of elements that people tend to really enjoy in the fantasy that I see them reading and making videos about. So I remain surprised that this is not more popular, because I do see the similar like storylines kind of and tropes and like types of characters, and that's not to say that this is like completely derivative, because I don't think that it is. I certainly think that there's nothing like out of your comfort zone about it or like groundbreaking, but it is simply like something that takes a lot of elements of magic and world building and character like arcs and development and characteristics that can be found elsewhere, and it repackages them in like a book that is, first of all, like very palatable. I said multiple times during my vlog how quickly I was able to read this, and second of all, just very like generally appealing. I find like I really enjoyed myself. I thought that each of the characters we followed had like clear motivations. They were likable. I was rooting for them. And so it was just overall like a generally very positive experience. It's probably not like a 4.25 star rating for me reflects that like I enjoyed it a lot. It's not a favorite based on just this one book, but I do definitely plan to continue in the trilogy, and like Petrik says, that it has a satisfying conclusion, and so that is something to look forward to, and I can't say like how I'll feel about this on the level of it being a favorite or not after I've read all 3 of the books. But the first one was just a really pleasant surprise to me, because I have heard such mixed things about this series, and even recently I've seen people giving it more average to lower ratings, and I think that this is one where I fall on the more positive side of it, but I just don't quite understand how other people feel about it or get that. And maybe there's just something intangible and unnameable about like James Islington's writing and everything that did connect with me for this one, whereas it doesn't for some other series that use similar tropes to this or use kind of like a similar structure. So it's really hard to say, like, because when you get down to taste, it just is what it is. Your feelings are your feelings. So this isn't meant to be a like breakdown and psychoanalysis about how everybody in the world feels about this book, but I do just find that really interesting, and basically the moral of the story is I'm really happy that I liked it. I'm really happy that Petrik did give me the push to read it, because after all the mixed feelings, it wasn't something that was on the top of my TBR, even though it still was on there and of interest to me. I apologize for my thoughts being a little bit all over the place. I don't think that this review has been as structured as some of the other ones, but I do think that there were a lot of strengths in this book. Plotting, pacing, some really, really interesting characters. There is one character in particular that I'm very, very interested in to see their character arc and some of the like reveals that are going to happen from like basically kind of past events and the impact that that's going to have on the series going forward. And so I don't know when I'm going to be getting to the second book, just because my TBR is pretty full right now. However, it's really, really nice to know that this is a series now that I'm sure I do want to read and I do want to continue with. Hello. And once again, thank you so much to Petrik for recommending this and being a part of this. And of course, Petrik is a much bigger channel than me, but if on the off chance you are not subscribed to Petrik, please go do that. I will have his channel linked in the description. So that is it for the March edition of Reading Booktubers' Favorite Books. And yeah, with that said, please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you would like to see more content from me. I post new videos on most Mondays and Thursdays. And as always, I will have my socials, my joint Discord with Ben linked in the description if you're interested in any of that stuff. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!